The following is an encore presentation of new expressions.
And it is 10 on an overcast Friday morning. It is new expressions. Yes, it is. Once again, this time we're not actually broadcasting from West Gosford. We're actually broadcasting from Arena, our current location. But today, a little different format. Joining me in the studio today is going to be Michael Wright. Good morning, Mick.
Very good morning to you, mate. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're pulling a double shift, are you?
I think so. It looks that way. So I'm all coffeed up, ready to go.
Amen. Well, today we're going to do a little in-depth look at, I know we've talked about the new building and where we're going and what's happening with that. And we've given a brief overview here and there of the things we want to do and things like that. But what we haven't talked about is the impact it'll have not only on the staff but the community, but the individuals that will come into that new level of of this ministry. You and I have had the privilege of being at Rhema Newcastle for quite some time, in various roles, and we've been a part of some of the milestones that they've hit. I've been a part of Rhema Newcastle. I was a part of it for 20 years. I was there at their second Rhemathon when it was for 40K, and that was an impacting moment for me because if you've ever been in one of those in Newcastle in the early days, it was in the tally room / lunchroom / meeting room, and Sunday night come midnight, it was packed. You couldn't move.
I remember those
you
well.
Could not move, and that my first Rhemathon and their second. They got to that 40K, I think, a minute before midnight, and man, the place just erupted. Yeah. But the build up and the lead up to that was just something, because I walked in, they had 2 studios, but the first Rhemathon was to build the second studio. And so I wasn't there for that and was unaware of that when I first came into what was going to be Man in the Phones for that weekend, because I hadn't started on the air yet. I had only just handed in my application for to be doing something, which I didn't know what, because I was talking to it. And I'll just be there 6. I was supposed to be there 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. to answer the phones, but ended up being handed the microphone because I hadn't been taught what to do yet when I pick up the phone. And they were ringing out off the hook at 5:45.
Wow.
And that's the kind of support they had and still have today. So my introduction there was just amazing. I got to see just the way this ministry rolled and blossomed. And, halfway through my tenure there, to be part of putting Rhema Central Coast here as far as doing the playlist for the first 3 years was nice to be here in this foundation. But I have to admit, after that, I just lost track. Yeah, because we went back to Newcastle and I was doing other things, and I wasn't involved here. So I didn't see where they came from. So I can attest to that. Rick can, because he was here in the beginning. I remember meeting Rick for the first time in that first board there, and he's still here today. But Newcastle's, foundation was already there. I just walked in at the moment when it exploded. So being a part of this one, after in year 10, and then going forward from here, I did see the first studio. Now I've seen this, and I see where we're going, and it still amazes me. I mean, I feel like the angels that just are hovering around God each turn. Holy, 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 because it is not what we expected. We expected something bigger, yes, but we didn't expect not just the capacity, but the avenues of what Dyer Crescent can do for us and for the community. So I want to dive into that because I've seen it. I've been there, and I see where this is, and I see where it's going. And it's quite an easy roadmap for me because I was there. You were there too. But walking into this, I just want to talk about the things that it can provide. And I came in this morning, and I thought, you know what, Evan, just make a list of what it can provide. And then it amazes me because that list kind of doubled a bit there because I hadn't thought about things. So just to roll them out, we've always talked about we needed more audio engineers.
Yep.
We've had the ridiculous ad, if you have a computer, we need more announcers, always. Admin, yes, front desk, bookkeepers, things like that. But we need journalists. We need people who can actually triage the news. We need readers. Because a person can find the news doesn't mean they can read it. There are news readers. People make professions out of news reading. We need news readers. Social media folks. I'm not that. Like, you're not that. We need social media people. We need videographers. We need film editors. We need podcasters. We need script writers. And most of all, we need creatives.
Yeah.
Because all those things up there, from video, film, podcast, and editing, people can do that, but can they actually tell a story? It might be good at actually editing that story once it's been created, but can they tell a story? No. And there are storytellers out there everywhere. But what amazes me about the kingdom is that God is the creator, and we're of God. Ergo, we're creative. So we should be able to provide a place where someone can come in with their gifts and talents and have them unlocked, developed, exposed, and enhance and enrich the community of which those creatives operate in. And because we're in media and we can actually go beyond here, what a greater potential for those creatives to step inside and do what they haven't been able to do or hone or push or enhance inside our own medium, which goes out to the world. So in getting away from just being radio, we are much more than music wrapped around some teaching and some promos and the occasional program.
Yeah.
In the new building, we have the ability to actually be media.
Yeah.
Podcasting, we want to set up a green room. There is space for that. We want to actually push certain segments of our audio to video through our YouTube channel, which will come through our app. We need people who know how to do that. I do not. I want to make that clear. I do not. So that ad may change from, do you have a computer? Do you have a camera? You know what I mean? Right. So those are the things I want to break down. Now, in saying all that, some people get a little bit, announcing. Yeah, there are plenty of people who want to announce on radio. And they walk in here, and I've seen it for 26 years. And they're all enthused. You sit down behind that chair, and the microphone is pushed in front of their face, and it's like a deer in a headlight. Everything goes blank. And the want to has now turned to, I'm not sure I want to do this. So I've seen that. But I've seen people come through, and they've trained, and they've been absolutely spectacular. And you think, wow, you're going to be a great announcer. But they don't think so. And it never happens. I've seen people come in and they'll train and they'll train and they'll train and they'll train and they'll train, and they just don't want to get behind the wheel of the car. And I've seen people come in who have trained and done their time, spent a season, and then moved on to other things.
Yeah.
And I've seen people come in who, I'm not sure I can do this, but I'll put my hand up and I'll do it. And we've given them a go. Now, not everybody. I mean, you got to have a voice for radio. You do. Well, I mean, I don't want people out there thinking that we just put any old body on. People recognize your voice because it's professional, it's booming, it's engaging. People recognize my voice because it sounds like a cartoon. People recognize Mick Ayer's voice because he has that quality. It's that X factor. Phil has that. Frank on Saturdays has that.
Yeah.
Little Frankie has that. And although I know Little Frankie comes from a teaching background, he came in here and he gave his time, and he knows sometimes he sounds like a teacher, but he can't help that. But you know Frank's voice. I've had people call up, was that guy a teacher? I think he taught me. I've had people do that. But I've also had people sending in emails like, why do you have all old announcers? I really want to respond, why aren't you in here? At least they're doing something for the kingdom. Shut up. But I don't, because I understand where they're coming from. They don't understand this side of the table, but I do.
Yeah.
But where we're going, we need those people. And I know there are people out there who can announce, but for whatever reason, I'm not sure I want to do that. I'm not sure I'll be wanted. I'm not sure, I'm even needed or will be appreciated. Let me tell you, when you come to the doors at Rhema, all denominational barriers drop at the door. We only promote what we love, and that's Him.
Right.
We can all find common ground there. That's it. Which is why you won't find us on air dogging other ministries or talking about other ministries or complaining about this or complaining about that. Unless you listen to the Drive Time Show, because he loves picking on counsel. We just can't get that out of him. So, there's always the exception. But there are people who won't come in here because they've had a bad time in the church and in ministry. Not every church and ministry is perfect, and not all of us have had a perfect run. But it's not about them. You can't lump us all in there. You still have to get in there. You got to forgive them. You got to get up and you got to walk, because you have a purpose. You have a gift. And that gift could be in here. And don't let that stop you. And training, it is the easiest and most flexible thing here. when you come in to train as an announcer, it's a 14-week course. And when I mean a 14-week, it's 1 day a week, 1 hour a week. Mm-hmm. If you want to accelerate that and do a couple hours a week, fine, we'll get there quicker. But 14 one-hour sessions, that's all it takes. Yeah. And you'll be here. Assisted, not left on your own, but you'll be here. It's not hard at all. Similar to editing. If you come in and you want to be an audio engineer, I can teach you how to edit, basic edit, within a couple of hours. You'll be practicing on something. With a couple of days, you'll be doing it on your own. In a couple of months, you won't have a problem with that. In a year or so, you'll know exactly what to do. I only have to be here. Mm-hmm. And that's just bare basics. I mean, and let's let the cat out of the bag. You, my friend, are editing your own weather.
Yeah.
And you've wanted to do that for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long did it take you to learn how to do that?
I think it was maybe only a couple of goes, I think. That was about it. To be fair, though, I mean, I have put my hand to, triaging programs that have come to air. Yep. So I did that for quite a long period of time when I first started here. So, there has been a bit of a background in things there. And I think even in Newcastle, I didn't really have to touch on a lot of things up there. I think I mainly produced a lot of my own stuff for when I actually did breakfast show up there.
You did a bit, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
And
wasn't hard, was it?
No, I'm doing a similar thing here as well.
Yeah. The best audio engineer I've had was a gentleman by the name of Ron. An older gentleman. I think when Ron came in, he was 60 plus. Didn't know anything about this, but his son was an engineer.
Ron.
Yeah. And Ron, he wrote things down. And it didn't take long for him to get there. I mean, it took a little while because that was his way of learning.
Yeah.
But he still is the best audio engineer I have ever had. Yeah. He was meticulous for things. It was done. And actually, when there was nothing to be done, he brought his own vacuum cleaner and he went to work and he cleaning the place up. And in tribute to Ron, the shortcut on the computer in production to all the files, still called Ron. I left it there as a tribute. And if he's listening, bless you, Ron, because he is a coastie still, but ended up getting the job counseling in the prison system. So it was a huge loss to me. He was fantastic. Oh, he was fantastic. So it doesn't matter what age you are.
Yeah,
you can do that.
Totally.
So, and in that area of engineering, of audio engineering, I need 2.5. I need 2.5 more people who can, even if you can just give me a day in here, yeah. I'm good with that. And the new place, it's set up, it's nice, it'll be catered for you. So 2 of those, and if you can do that, then, we can teach you how to make commercials, CSAs, things like that. And, if you ever had an idea of maybe I could actually work in that field, that's an area where, it's mutual benefit. If you want to learn it, come help us and we'll teach you. And then maybe you can actually go off and do that later on. We're not possessive about keeping people here.
Yeah.
It's not that way. For however long God has you here, you know what? Great. Let's put you to use. So that's just my feeling on that. Announcers. You actually went to school and you trained first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How long was that process?
Gosh, when I first started in Christian radio, it was back in the year 2000, and I was actually completing a Cert 4 in music business of all things. And part of the course was some work experience, and I noticed that they had radio in there, and I've always loved radio. I mean, I always had the thing on. But even as a child, I felt drawn to radio for some reason. I never thought that I would actually be in it one day.
Yeah.
But that's the way that God had set things up in my life. So I did a couple of weeks of work experience at a commercial radio station, and I just instantly fell in love. I was like, this is what I want to do.
This is what I want to do.
And at the same time, I started to hear Rim in Newcastle were looking for announcers. So they had been advertising that for a while, and I thought, I think I might give this a go. So, long story short, I did the audition and everything else, and just waited for a period of time before the station management got back to me, and it was basically, congratulations, you've made it into the program. So I was like, you beauty. And I think back then it was around about 10 weeks, I think, 8 to 10 weeks.
It would have been shorter for you because you would have had some skills that you had already acquired.
Yeah, so I already had some things, but I think the whole program was around
16.
about 8 to 10 weeks, I think, for
16.
me.
Oh, for you, yeah, but it's normally 16 up there.
Yeah. So it was about a little bit shorter for me, which was great. And I came down. I think I travelled down I travelled a couple of days per week to actually go into the studio. So my time was a little bit more accelerated. Obviously. But I went straight into drive time.
Amen.
3 days a week, mind
That's a
you.
hot spot.
It was
Breakfast and Drive.
Breakfast and Drive are your flagship
Breakfast and Drive,
programs
yes.
for any radio station, whether you're Christian, secular, or whatever,
Yep.
It doesn't matter. They are your two main programs. So they threw me straight into the deep end pretty much. But the great thing about it was the training was fantastic. And for people out there who are listening in this morning and you've thought about, but I don't know what to do when I get on air. The great thing is this is what they did with us up there back in the day was we were given our program logs before we even went on air, usually the day before.
Yep.
And so what we did then was we went through and we found out, we just located the places where we could actually put in a talk break. And then what we did was we usually wrote out a talk break in each one of those things. So after a period of time of doing that, it just becomes almost wired. Pathways get wired into your brain.
It does.
And then a period of time, I did that for quite a period of time, and then I remember being approached to do Saturday morning breakfast as well. So they threw that one in there as well on me, and I was like, yep, cool, no problem at all. So I started doing Saturday morning breakfast, and at the same time I'm still writing out all my talk breaks, still picking up the logs the day before and all that kind of thing. However, there was one Saturday morning that I went in there to do breakfast, and all of a sudden I've realised to my horror, oh no, I've left my talk breaks. Like I've forgotten my talk breaks. I've left them at home. But because I had already gone through a process, by the time I went in there and forgot it, it was already hardwired into my brain.
That's right. And that happens.
So I literally just went and I never took another written talk break ever again. And from then on, it just became, I started to find my own voice on radio. And I started to be able to switch things up a little bit. So, I have a similar process here when I come in to do breakfast, but I don't have anything written out. Nothing. Nothing's prepared usually unless I see something really incredible, earlier that week. But a lot of things that I do now on air, I produce pretty much my own show. And because I know management, and obviously you and I have been friends for 23 years now. We've worked together. This is the second station we've worked together at. So, we know each other really well. And, having that trust factor there is great from management. So, again, for people who are listening today and you've always thought, there are many people around there who you have a voice for radio. You just don't realise that that voice was not just given to you to sound good when you talk to people, around the place. It's given to you by God for an opportunity to get into a ministry like this.
And if you think that, I don't know the music, I don't know how to pick that thing, what do I say? These are things that happen during training. Number one, you don't pick the music, it's already picked for you. There's a computer, the algorithm that's already done that, it's already there. And within 6 months, you're going to actually start to know these songs. You're going to start to know them. I can't explain it, it just happens. 3 months from the first time you're on air, you're only just starting to get comfortable. 6 months from there, you're starting to know a lot of the songs and you're starting to feel comfortable. And the more you feel comfortable, the more it comes across on air and the better you start to sound. At that 9-month mark, something happens. And, instead of getting in here a half hour early and making sure you had your coffee and your pen sharpened and you got all your notes and you still can be writing things down, things begin to dwindle. You're not writing as much. You don't have as many pieces of paper. So people still do come in, but that's when they have things to say. Phil does this, why do they say that? He has a list of that. And Jenny has her book reviews and things like that. About a 12-month mark, you don't need any of that. You're walking in, you're sitting down, flicking on the switch. It's, 2 seconds ago on there, you're already good, you're good. And I tell my announcers whenever they're in training, imagine driving a car for the first time. I mean, you're super slow. You're checking the mirror. You're looking both ways. You're the slowest thing on the road. You get a little nervous, Ninny. Now you hop into the car. I'm sorry. You got your cup of coffee. You got the kids in the background. You're on the phone talking to somebody. You got the window down, blasting the song. Boom. It's an 8. And that's what happens here. From the first day to that last day of that year, that will happen. I've never seen it not happen. The switch just flicks. So you're not left to your own devices. A lot of things are already set up for you, and things will just come to you naturally. That's just the way it does. The same way with editing too, as well. So the next thing we need is admin. Now, I'm not an admin person, never want to be. I mean, I've had people ring up here, can I donate? Can you bring back tomorrow? I don't want to do this. It's not I don't want to do this. It's just, I'm not built for that. But I'll hop in there if no one's there.
Yeah.
But there are people out there, there are loads of people out there who have had admin experience.
Sure.
And are retired, but looking for something to do. You know, we need admin. Mm-hmm. We need admin everywhere. Now, at the moment, we're open 10 to 2. Why? We don't have the admin personnel to sit at that front desk to actually take those phone calls or be there when people get off for shift workers to come in. We don't have it. Mm-hmm. The new place, we've got a place that's catered for 2 admin people, and now we've got an announcer in there in the afternoon. So we're here manned 6 to 6. Yeah. So we need admin people on that front desk. And yes, sometimes it gets a little boring because we haven't had a lot of things and call for people to get in here and call up and come in and visit us. We haven't had that yet, but we will now. Yep. There's people there. We plan to have school visits that come in that stay today. Mm-hmm. You can't come to the station here now and spend the day, from one department to the next. It'd be like, a crowded elevator.
Like Pitt Street on a Monday morning almost.
Exactly. But in the place we have now, you can actually schedule a school visit and bring a class and spend the whole day long. Split them up. Yep. Some in production, some in studio, some in engineering, some in admin, some in what will be the green room, some outside sweeping and cleaning and doing some gardening. Just kidding. They'll make their own IDs. We'll teach them how to edit. Some will get on live, and those IDs will run for that following week so they can actually hear themselves for each group. There's things, it's a whole boatload of stuff. But you'll have your lunch there because you have a kitchen there. You have a place you can actually sit and eat. Amen. It's just something that we can do, and that's the community side of things. Right. And dude, that's just 3 things that we've ran off this list. There's half a dozen, but we got to play a song here. Oxygen by Zanti. That's right. If you have oxygen, you are of God. That's right. And
if not, you soon will be. That's right. That's for sure.
And we need you. Oh, we're talking about future, I guess, what's happening in the new place and why. And you mentioned off air, we should actually mention the internship, which is still actually available. We are offering an internship to someone who is looking to maybe have a career in radio and media. And that internship will introduce you to every aspect and everything involving radio. From announcing to engineering to admin to social media, journalism, the whole works. It's going to introduce you into all that, and it's for a full year. And that will be at Dyer Crescent, because I'm not sure they're actually going to start it while we're here. We're only a few weeks left anyway before we go. I don't know the whole particulars of it, but I know you can apply through our website, and someone will go through it and come back to you. I know we're looking at someone maybe who wants to do a gap year, or maybe someone out of high school who wants to spend a year here before they move on to something else. And if that materializes into a job, excellent. If not, I'm sure that you'll be qualified to work anywhere here, somewhere on the coast. And there is a certificate involved in it, so it is an official thing. Yep. But I just don't know. I apologize. I don't know 100% about it. But because I've been in enough meetings to know, just wasn't paying attention. Anyway, we are still offering it. I know we haven't ran any ad. And that's just because, we pulled it for a certain time because COVID kind of, ran into that.
Exactly.
And ruined that a bit. And by the time we put it back on, we had a few candidates. I think one we were going to offer to end up getting a full-time job. But it is still available there. And it is something that, if you want to do, I highly recommend it. And we're moving into a space that will actually cater to that for now. So I wonder if it was God's way of saying, look, no, not now, now.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because we have the space to actually do it and do it properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly what you need to. So hopefully, once we do get into the new place, we've already talked about this quite a bit, that there'll be so many more opportunities opening up for us, not just with radio. There'll obviously be the podcasting, there'll be the YouTube channels, there'll be even TV and things like that as well. The potential is there for all that sort of media. Yeah. And that's exactly what we want to do, because as the sign says up there on the new building, it's Rima Central.
Rima Central.
It's not Rima CC 94.9, even though that is still who we are.
Yes.
The building itself is Rima Central, so it is going to be used as a hub for the Christian community here. So whether you are a You know, you might be a Christian group getting off the ground, a Christian band. You might be a Christian podcaster getting some things happening. You might be, you know, looking to start a YouTube page down the track from a church or with some sort of ministry group.
That's correct.
Consider Rema Central to come in there, because we will have some great facilities in there. You know, obviously the two main studios, but we'll also have dedicated production rooms, dedicated editing suites, and a whole lot of other things in there as well.
On that, we had a girl that reached out, actually her school reached out, and to look, she's doing a podcast for one of her final assignments, and it's a major one, and wanted to know if we can come in and chit-chat about it. Came in, and she already knew what she was writing on. It's something to do with the coast. I don't want to give this away because it's her thing, but it's a true story, something that happened here on the coast. But she knew nothing about podcasting. So we spent an hour talking about how to start, where to go, this and that, and it ended up, she'll write it, but then we'll put all the sound to it.
Right.
And mix it down in our own facility so it's done correctly and right, complete with top and tail and voiceover if she needs it. So those are sorts of things we can do. And she was wrapped, just over the moon, like, thank you. You know, year 12 student, you know, I'm pretty sure they weren't expecting that. I thought they were expecting on direction and where to start. Well, we went from A to Z and included ourselves in helping her do it, because that's what we wanted to be, a hub. Absolutely. It's just not for us. It's for the community, to help the community, paid and built for by the community.
Yeah.
And so we want to actually be that. Immediate needs, though, when we first move in, we really need some journalists, because we really like to do local news.
Yeah.
Local news. Now, I know we take Vision News from Vision, which is Christian radio station. They include a couple of Christian stories. That's great. But there's a lot that happens here on the coast, and because we're so close to Sydney and Newcastle, whatever happens, it matters here too as well. So it'd be nice if we could actually do our own news, even if we just started with just a couple of Christian stories. I'm happy to do that, but I like to include local stuff.
Yeah.
Now, how does that benefit the community? It's local, number one.
Absolutely.
Because we can still do national stuff. I mean, the national news does national stuff everywhere, but 9 focuses on Sydney, 10 focuses on Brisbane. We should focus, yes, on here, but still include national news, but also include our Christian news that we want to find and talk about. And I know there are news people out there and ex-journalists here on the coast who are Christians, and we need you. We need people to write, we need people to hunt, we need people to edit, and we also need people to read it and deliver it. The news we take, it is paid for from Vision. If we were to take Macquarie National News, that's paid for. So by doing our own, hey, we save money. Yeah, we do. But we also actually get to hear localized stuff as well as national. And I think that's something that we could come to the party with. And, you know, imagine reporting on a big Christian event. When we used to, when Elam were doing the Easter tent services on the foreshore, you're not going to hear that in the news. But you know what? We can talk about it.
Yeah,
we can talk about it on the hour, every hour. We can talk about it. We can talk about visitors who are coming. We can talk about anything we want, really, Christian related here on the coast within that news segment. Doesn't always have to be doom and gloom. Mm-hmm. And then on that, we can also triage some of that out. Some things that I know people, want to be informed. I do. I want to know what's going on in the world. But some things are just ridiculous, and we don't really need to hear about that. Did I really need to hear that? I don't care that, he's getting married for the 9th time. I don't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? Let someone else report that. That's not newsworthy to me. Mm-hmm. So it's things like that we can actually hone in and create a better radio experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Less cringeworthy a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think, too, back in, when we were working together back in the day, it was a case of we always had national news piped in.
Yes.
Every hour.
Yeah.
But we always, as well, we did have a dedicated local news service as well.
Yes.
For Newcastle. So it was usually, pre-recorded that morning, and throughout the rest of the morning, we always had some pre-records happening there with different people who'd come in live and pre-record, usually before the hour or something. Yep. And we would just triage that very quickly, put that into the system, and then as soon as the national news played, then the computer would just bring in automatically our local news.
Exactly.
And so that is one of the things that we'd love to do here. Now, myself and some of the other announcers here on air, we will pull out local news stories because we are a local station. We're a community station. Yes, so that is the big thing there, the community thing. Yeah. So obviously what happens in the community affects us all to some extent or another, depending on where you're at. Yep. But that's the sort of thing that people really want to hear what's happening locally in my area as well.
Exactly.
And not just, your, I guess, things to do with government or things to do with what's happening on the roads and all that kind of stuff. That's great. You need to know those things. But we, again, like you said, we also want to know, hey, what's happening kingdom-wise around
what's happening in the Christian
area?
community. Exactly.
Yeah, what's happening with churches?
right.
What's happening with events?
Yeah.
Who's doing what around the place? We would love to be able to get that out there as a form of news service.
We want to know, who's been arrested, who's been bailed out. We want to know. So, we need to find out. But it's a service. It's a service to the community.
Right.
And if we operate under a Christian community license, then we should strive to actually deliver those things that you normally do on radio, but under that Christian community license.
Sure.
And news is one of them. We can still include worldly stuff, but we need to know what's going on in our own backyard, kingdom-wise, but also community-wise. And that's something we need. So someone to read it, someone to write it, someone to triage it, someone to find it. It may be all in one, maybe two people. I don't know. There'll be editors or engineers here to edit it for you.
Yep.
And there's a plethora of places already available where you can actually scour those news sites that carry local news here and pull them out.
Totally.
I mean, the big stuff is everywhere. Go to Sky, go to 24, go to 9. It's always there. But the local stuff, there are places here to
Absolutely
find it.
there are.
And you can come in here and use our own equipment and to do that. But if not, and you want to do it from home, if you want to find news throughout the day at home and triage it and email it into the newsroom, then fine, do that. We're happy to do that. You don't always have to actually be working from inside of Dial Crescent or inside our own place. Yeah. And that's the beauty of this ministry. It is very flexible.
Yeah.
If you can't, if you live out at, Lake McCory, but you listen to us and you want to be involved, you don't have to make that drive all the way down to West Gosford.
Right.
Okay? You don't. Unless you want to announce, and you got to do some training. I need to get you in here.
Yeah.
But if you want to engineer, if you want to triage news, if you want to edit it, if you want to find it and submit it, you can do that too.
Absolutely.
Exactly from where you are. And there will be a dedicated email where all the news comes to.
Yep.
It's edited and done up and then slotted into the computer to see, which we haven't actually, the announcer to see, which you haven't set up yet, but there'll be something there for them to see, to read. And if we choose to do it in audio form, someone will be there to read it and it'll air.
Yeah.
But these are all the advancements we want to work towards to, but we need personnel, people.
Absolutely.
To get that done. But that's one of our immediate, needs, wishes, goals. We'd like to do that. Social media is another one. We're, lacking there. A good job is being done so far by, the individual who does it, who I'm sure would like to hand it off to someone else. but that person has carried the mantle. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that. But we need someone who can come in and handle our social media. And that doesn't mean you have to be in here.
Exactly.
You could find things, schedule posts. As long as you have a flair and the same heart as where we are, great. I'm not looking for someone to come in and take pictures every day of what we do and this and that. I am, but that's further down the list when it comes to videographers. I got an idea floating there, but I would really like someone to come across who can actually handle Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can actually handle it for us. Schedule those posts. Take a day. If you want to come in on a computer to do so, that's fine, but schedule those things for a month in advance. And, when it comes to our things that we have in-house, we'll take photos and throw them up as well. Where we are, we'll do that, but something dedicated.
Yep.
If you've got a flair for that kind of thing, reach out, get in touch, looking for that individual. And that email will go straight to the person who's doing it now, and I'm sure he will action it ASAP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we talked about videographers. We do need one.
Yep.
We do need one. Tell you why. It'd be nice to, display what we do in here via video. And we can. Via YouTube, which will come through our app. You and I talking. People can listen, or someone can tune in and actually have a look at the monstrosity of a man you are and that lovely beard you got there.
Absolutely.
Tune in and have a look and watch. But we could have someone in here doing a cooking thing, doing anything that they can actually watch and listen and look. Yep. And see and hear and partake of, just like you do on normal TV, breakfast TV, as they call it. That's what we're looking for. People who can do that. And then cut it up, toss it on our podcast, put it there. But why not do something like, once a week, day in the life of, a radio station. I mean, they've done The Office, they've done broadcast news, things like Aaron Sorkin's a wonderful writer, did that well.
Yeah.
There's Studio 60, there's all sorts of things that a day in life, whatever. Why not do one in day in life of a Christian radio station? Why not?
Yep,
Or hone
absolutely.
in. Or why not have a film crew follow Mr. Wright around there in the morning, we're up, we'll follow him in the car, into work, follow your routine, see what you do, see a life, a day in the life of a breakfast guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's interesting. It is. But someone has to actually film that. Someone has to actually direct that. Someone has to edit that. Someone has to put that story together. But there's a story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if, Edinburgh can follow the life of a whale and make it extremely interesting, surely God's people can make the life of the breakfast guy interesting. Surely.
And again, as well, with the whole videography, it's, again, this is one of those things about the community. So doing stories and things on local church groups,
Yes.
local bodies of believers, local events, all of that kind of things, just even local individuals around the place who are doing really great things for the community, but they may be the unsung heroes too.
Yes.
Being able to give those guys a platform and
That's
say, hey,
right.
look, we actually really want to put you up here and let people see what you're all about. We want people to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And, this ministry, wherever it may be, whatever its impact is, we want to make sure that people get out there because what you're doing is we like it.
Yeah.
We see Jesus in this.
And
so we want to be able to get things like that happening as well.
Yeah. And last week we had Nathan Oliverio, who
Right.
does that same exact thing.
The normal Christian life.
Yes.
It's a great thing, yeah.
Now, there are tons of video guys and storytellers out there looking for some place to go to hone their craft and display it.
Yeah,
Get in touch.
absolutely.
Get in touch. We'd love to partner. And you tune into 94.9 Rema Central Coast. New Expressions today with Mick Wright sitting in for Craig Stevens. I used to call him that when he first started, Stevenson. My name's Stevens. Why didn't you tell me that in the first place? Craig Stevens.
Steve-O. Steve-O's good enough.
Way today. But Mick's pulling that double shift, and we're talking about the move from here to that next level of broadcast. That's interesting. We're broadcasters.
Yeah.
Just doesn't mean radio.
Absolutely.
We're broadcasters.
Absolutely. And that's the mentality that you have to take on over the, as you progress and as you grow, not just as a ministry, but also as a broadcast station.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do, because if you look back at the very early days of when any type of Christian radio usually kicks off within, in Australia, I know with Newcastle, I think I was first saved, when I met the Lord back in the mid-90s it was. Rema Newcastle was going, but it was being, I think it was being broadcast out of a couple's lounge room, I think at the time.
Yeah, Betty and Russell Aitchison.
That's right. I used to go to, and I was actually going to church with those guys for a period of time when I first became a Christian.
I think he was a plumber, was he?
I can't
Carpenter
remember
or
what
plumber?
he's offhand,
Yeah.
but they were quite elderly by that time, so
They
they'd
were.
well and truly retired. But I was
Yep.
actually going to church with them for a little while, and people got to sort of introduce me to them. And they were like, yeah, they were the guys that actually started Rema in Newcastle. I
Yep.
was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So they were a beautiful couple, but again, that's that's the beginnings to where it is now.
And again, age is nothing but a number.
Exactly
They
right.
were Rema Newcastle was the very first Rema.
Yep.
He was retired.
Yes.
He saw an ad in the newspaper from Rema, New Zealand, looking for someone who were interested in putting Christian radio in Australia. Put his hand up. Knew nothing about radio whatsoever.
Yep.
Just knew it was needed and put his hand up.
Yep. Totally.
And boom, here we are today.
Yeah,
So,
it's quite amazing.
It is.
Speaking of being here today, I remember you were talking when we first jumped on air this morning about I think it was the very first, when I guess Rema Central Coast started. I think it was the very first on-air appeal that we had for Rema CC. I was actually one of the anchors for that in Newcastle, which was and I was actually doing breakfast radio at the time too. So, the life has definitely come full circle.
Yes.
I am now actually working here, employed here, and doing breakfast radio and still taking part in the appeals. So it just goes to show you, your experiences that you have through life, they're all worth something, and they're all part of, a plan that God has for us as individuals, but also a bit of a larger picture too with Christian ministry,
And Scripture, reap what you sow.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yes. And speaking on that, although we have gotten into this building, the work isn't complete. There are a lot of milestones to hit
Sure.
to bring the place to its full potential. And that's where we rely on God, yes, but our partners as well in this community. And, you know, we've got the June appeal that is coming up. But look, if you want to donate to the work that we're doing here and where we're going, we'd love you to. We actually need you to. And, you know, I know the June appeal is coming, and that's going to be a nice big event. But right now, we need stuff right now. I mean, I know Rick's got an open letter, as I like to call it, an audio letter, thanking you, telling you where we are, but also encouraging you that, you know, the job's not finished yet. You know, it was a leap of faith to get in there, and we all believe here that it was of God. And when you look at it, and you look at where we want us to go, and you look at that place, it is so much more than we could have ever asked for. It is definitely an Ephesians 3:20 thing. And, you know, we truly believe that that's where we're supposed to be. So we're asking people, you know, if you want to get involved, please do so. Head to our website, donate there, or even call. Call us, and Dale's on the front desk. If you want to give, if you can't do it today, don't do it today. Do it tomorrow. Do it next week. But, you know, budget it. And,
And here's the thing too with memberships as well. That's one of the things that we love to have people jump on board with us and partner with us. You know, obviously not just with front desk roles, with admin roles, with all the different roles that there are within a radio station, but it's also financially too. That is a big one, and being able to show, you know, the broadcasting bodies, the governing bodies within Australia, that yes, we are a viable station. We are here for the long term. We have a great supporter base, a great membership base, and you know, these people really are getting a lot of great material, a lot of great content from us, and they're on board with that. So that's one of the things that we would love for people to do. You know, and of course, you know, you are helping us to fulfill the great command of Scripture, which is, of course, is to go into all the world and to preach the good news to everyone, everywhere.
Amen.
That's Mark 16:15. So that is what we do here on a daily basis. We are fulfilling the Great Call, the Great Commission. That is a huge thing. And, of course, we get to talk to thousands of people every single day, which, you know, when you're behind the microphone, you never even think of that.
You never think of that. No.
You never think of it. You are usually too busy trying to keep everything, okay, I've got this playing next, and now I'm going to do this, and I've got this little bit of thing over here that I have to talk about that, the next talk break, and, okay, this thing. So you've always got things to do. Your mind is really active when you're in here behind the mic, and to me, this is my dream job. I love doing what I do. I'm passionate about it. God's gifted me to do that, and I don't say that, you know, in a flippant way. I take it joyfully seriously.
Evangelist on the radio, man.
It is a great thing. It is a great thing. You're continuing to grow the supporter base as well by becoming a member, and that's one of the things that we definitely need. You know, your support as a listener is definitely needed here, and it's so easy to become a member of Rima CC. Again, you can call into the office between 10 and 2 Monday to Friday. 436-74042 is the number, and of course, go to the website rima.cc. There's a couple of different places.
You've been listening to an Encore presentation of New Expressions, which can be heard live every Friday morning at 10 a.m. on 94.9 Rima Central Coast.